So arguably, the use of things like storytelling and playing games aren't necessarily hoodwinking reluctant readers into reading, but they can jolly well help. Certainly if it's something that's very communal, that we do as a class or as a group, certainly coming together and sharing results with a sense of pride and energy. These are the couple of things I want to try with us today. I'm not saying that the things that we're going to try today are prescriptive, that these are the exact ways that you should do them. I'm coming from a storyteller's perspective and a theatre person's perspective, and looking at the idea of energy, creativity, with some method, and how that could then bring a sense of passion and involvement and fun to fledgling readers, or to existing readers, or just to learners generally. This is a storytelling game that allows the participants to contribute their own language and their own sense of voice to making up a story, sharing it, and performing it. An end byproduct of this would be to write it down before it gets lost. And certainly, the creators of the stories in this exercise should feel excited about their story and what it's just made them feel and made others feel when they've listened to it. That's a good time to get it down, jot it down. In rough, in raw, and from the rough and raw, it can be developed and polished and displayed or published. But getting that raw, I don't have any ideas. Yes, you do. That's sometimes difficult, isn't it? What do we come up with? What ideas? This game enables us to come up with ideas without knowing where they're coming from, because they're very random. They're based on reaction. Okay. Everybody ready? Don't worry too much. You don't know what's coming, which is a little scary, but it shouldn't be, because you don't know what's coming. Therefore, do not fear the unknown. Embrace it. This is a story-making game, and A is the only one, same with the ABC group, that is given a story starter, okay, a line to say. But not a full line. There's a little bit at the end that you have to invent. And you don't know what that's going to be because you haven't spoken it out loud yet and haven't had a think, haven't had to visualize about what it is you're going to do. B, you're going to then respond to that first line, and then you hand back to A, or in the case of ABC, it'll go around in a circle, or a triangle, actually. And it goes back and forth until the story's built up. Be consistent, don't block each other. That's an improvisation drama term. Blocking is destroying the creative flow for a purpose. Usually it's egotism in the drama studio. I don't want to be this. We'll actually get on with it because we're all in together. Okay? Don't block, encourage the story along. But don't be inhibited by it either. Just allow your ideas, just react to the previous line and it will build. There should be laughter. It will happen. It's inevitable. Then as you're playing, listen out for my instructions, which I'm going to throw in to give you a couple of things to do to help you become storytellers and think like a storyteller and use the skills of a storyteller. Okay. Hands up A's. Great. Are you ready for your story starter? Now, of course, this story starter is adaptable to age, situation, theme. It could be anything. You can impose any story starter on this game and it will work. But the one we're going to use is A's, and this is your line. It's in the first person, this one. It's something that Lauren Child was talking about, wasn't it? About you can't write in the first person because it's really difficult. But you're stripped of emotion with this one because you don't know what's going to happen. But it starts with the I, and it starts with this. A, I woke up this morning. You don't have to do the actions. I woke up this morning. I looked out of the window, and I saw something that you're going to invent. A. I always use the example. I woke up this morning, I opened the window, I looked out and saw a blue elephant. Then it's over to B. My imaginary B might say, and the blue elephant looked at me. And I might respond with, and I looked at the blue elephant. And then it goes back. And B may say, and the blue elephant smiled. And it will go on from there. And so I smiled back at the blue elephant, and I went out to say the blue elephant, what's your name? My name. You see how this is developing. Okay? It's easy. You just respond to the previous line whilst encouraging it along. And the ideas spring from nowhere, from somewhere, but we're not sure where. Okay? Reaction. A's, are you ready? I woke up this morning, I looked out the window and I saw. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I woke up this morning. Oh, and stop! And go back to the beginning and retell what you've just created and then continue. Retelling, recalling. This is what the storyteller does. And stop! Stop! This time, go back to the beginning, but A is going to do B's version of the story, B is going to do A's, and in the case of C, you're just going to bump one along, so C will become A and B will become C, and recreate or retell what you've just created. Inevitably it might change, and you can help each other out if you get stuck, so it's not a test. It's just getting to know the other side of the story as well, and then continue. Off you go. And stop. This time, going forward, try and find a resolution. It doesn't have to be a perfect ending or a beat. Just find a way of bringing the story to a close so we can compress the exercise slightly. Once you've found your ending, go back to the beginning and retell your story to each other, making sure you know each aspect and each facet when it comes to the threes, each half for the ABs, because eventually you're going to separate from your comfortable group and seek out new audiences and an individual you're going to tell this new story to. But when you do, of course, inevitably, it's going to change slightly because it's you imposing your own filter now as a storyteller, finding your own voice and finding new people to tell it to. Okay. But first, find an ending, then go back and edit and learn the story so that you know the essence of it. Not necessarily word by word, but you know the story. And you can go and confidently then go and tell it to someone else. Okay? And then try and tell it to as many people as possible. And every time you tell it, it gets stronger. And certain things get repeated because they worked and you got a reaction. Yeah? And it becomes yours, solidly yours. And we've created this from nothing. Okay, off you go. Natural pause. Come and pile over here and listen to this one. There's one of bigger groups. Yeah, someone's just kicked off. Yeah. 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 You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Start again from the beginning. Is one of your initial partners here? In this? They can share it with you then. Yeah. Help support each other. Do a dual telling. Do you want to tell it? Take over. Well done. That's really well done. Thank you for being very good sport there. I think the idea that this has ended with one group listening to one or two storytellers is kind of the point. I hoodwinked you slightly. It was a bit, I forced the time there. I realised it was too early. But given time to breathe, this exercise, naturally social groups tend to emerge and audiences get bigger. And the legend of certain tellers begins to spread too, where people are seeking out actively energetic tellers and want to join that group and find out what is it they're doing that's quite good, and it becomes infectious. So the room becomes very vibrant when you play this game. And there's a culture of, not necessarily competition, but certainly a culture of what else can we bring to the pot here and contribute to the room. And very often you can intervene at the end of the exercise where perhaps large social groups have happened, and you can just stand and say, at a natural pause, does anyone want to stand and tell everyone your story? And more often than not, there's one or two or three who will. It might be the one that you would never believe in a million years would be the one to stand up in front of and deliver their piece of language. And it can be very rewarding, and you get that shiver, that magic moment. At this point, where the story has been celebrated orally many, many times in the game, it's a good chance to jot it down. Go back to your stations, go back to your partners or pairs, and get it jotted down in some way. And then, of course, it can be read out. But investing the same energy with the telling, And sometimes for the participant who may have written and jotted the story down, then read it out, they realise, oh yes, I have to bring this back off the page and let it reflect the storytelling version that I've already done. And it can just bring home those points of, actually there's no real difference effectively, but there is a new set of skills when you read out loud. But you've already told it, so invest the same energy. It could improve your school plays and your assemblies no end by exercising that skill and combining all of those things so they can begin to feel the differences and feel the experience of having done and what the different feelings are internally, as well as an audience member. They become more sophisticated too, have bigger expectations of the energy that's required to put something across. But ultimately, it's use of language, but in different ways. Speaking, reading, writing, performing, they're all related. Yeah, they're not necessarily distinct. Thank you. Give yourself a round of applause, it was really good.